12:11 a.m. Saturday, November 13th, 2021. Oh, Samira. Come here, baby. Come here. Want to join in? Want some of that? Want some of that? Yeah, no, come here. Big girl. I want to get an exercise wheel for my cats at some point. That would require me having my truck running well enough. And I think last year I was going to try and get them one for Christmas. I wanted to get them anything, and the financial situation I was in was not able to do anything with that. This year may be different. I'm gonna work toward that. So since my last video, I did take my boy cat to the vet, and they were like trying to be like, do you want us to give? I was like, honestly, no. I've spent the last 36 hours just in a living hell, and he's not well. Everybody's had their goodbyes. I was like, I would like to end his suffering now, please. And so then they were going to try and do the forearm catheter, and they couldn't get blood pressure enough to do that. And then the vet came in, and they had a technique with the assistant, or I'm not sure she was a veterinary nurse yet. She may have been a student. I don't mean student like school student, but like interning like while in vet school or something. She was very young. But they had a technique they did on the thigh with he called it the karate chop hand, and this was a different doctor than the one I'd seen last time, and I think I dealt with this guy before for the dog. And this guy I spoke with was, his aura is so different from the other guy. The dude that runs the place that inherited from the old doctor, and the old doctor was a real country farm doctor that knew animals. He was a great guy. I job shadowed with him in middle school, and boy, let me tell you, like, what they're meant to be. And sadly, he worked his entire life and then, retired and then passed. I think he passed. But, so I did talk to the nurse that I'd spoke to the first time. She was really nice the first time too. And the lady said something about, you remember you spoke to me last time and we talked, and she remembered something, and so I was able to connect there, and she was quite surprised to find out that he had had a small minor recovery before this clot happened. And I said, I was like, I was told by this doctor that I basically only had the one option, unless I wanted to do stuff that was going to be thousands and thousands of dollars. And so I said, well, I'm not making that decision today. And that night was able to get him to start eating again. So the thing was, I got in. I was obvious, that I had already been crying and everything. And as soon as I got in there with him, they had a whole they were like between 3:15 and 3:30, and we got some emergencies coming in, but we'll see. As soon as I got there, they went back to the one girl, and she was like, "Oh," And they came out and were like, is he here? And I said, yeah, he's right here. And they're like, we're going to go straight back. And I said, okay, cool. And so, um, on the way there, he had yowled a few times, and I kept my hand on his paw through the door of the pet border and everything. And, um, some of these roads here are so bumpy. My truck's also got a little bit of looseness in the front end right now, which doesn't help. And in order to not burn the transmission, I have to drive it at the rated air pressure for the tires, and the tires are necessary because I used to have real bad luck with flats, and so I started getting tires that are pretty resistant to that, like having a 2500 truck with 10 ply tires on it. You got to really drive over something big to get through that. And so, but even it was a bumpy, jiggly ride. I tried not to be too stiff about it or anything. The other issue was today was the first snow/sleet of the year, and so I didn't want to get into a sliding car accident while also trying to go about this other, macabre business. And so last night, and when I say last night, I mean Thursday night, late into early Friday morning. He ate what is now, I can say, his last meal. He had a nice little scarf on some salmon, and since he became anemic and anorexic there, anytime he would eat, it wasn't that he didn't want to eat. It was for some reason from time to time, either he was pain, lack of energy, or because of his nutrition, a lack of focus and clarity or whatever. He was chubby and fairly quiet, and was neutered from a young age. So he just he would eat, but toward the last couple of years here, definitely was started having some male cat instinct to be able to try and there's fertile females he's going to try and mate. This is why we got him neutered, right? And he was actually a pretty clever cat. As kittens, before the neutering, and somewhat after, but not so much. He and Samira had this game that they would play where she would chase him around the house and then up the stairs to the second floor room. And it was like they would go up a few and kind of back and up a few, and there was a little, but it was all skibbity pabs. It was not claws, right? This is, a brother and sister playing, and they did this like Gandalf and the because we had family living here. We were all a bunch of dorks, and so like Lord of the Rings is on a lot. These guys were doing their own Gandalf and Balrog thing up, like the Wizard and the Dragon on the ashtray kind of thing, right? Or the incense holder or whatever. They're little sculptures of this. It's a frequent trope in paintings, and it's based on this thing from Lord of the Rings. So of course he was a black cat. He would play the Balrog, but this is what they would do: is that she would chase him up the steps and whatever, and he'd chase her down and back and forth, and after the neutering, he didn't really do that. They did it a few times, but and then some of the other cats tried to fill the role, and it never really worked. And I actually just watched, probably about 5 minutes before deciding to start this video, I actually watched Samira try and entice Princess into a chase, but she didn't. I don't know. Princess doesn't know the game. She didn't. And then Samira was just sitting there. And then when she realized that, she got the thing going, and it's Princess there, not Steve. That I think she got a little sad. But everybody's subdued right now. Basically, I'm sorry. I'm chopping it up out of order. I'm just kind of, this is how it's gonna go. As I said, the steps of the grieving process themselves do not necessarily always follow a strictly linear order, and I am going through those phases in similar fashion to the way that I go through mood swings. because they're all present. Hi, Baba. It's Samira again. Yeah, Baba. Yes, Baba, come here. Hi. Hello. So, as I was saying, the previous night, Thursday night into Friday morning, he had his last meal. He stopped drinking water. He stopped accepting food. He had attempted to get to the litter to relieve himself, and it didn't work. Things got worse. I think I covered this. In the morning when I woke up, his pupils stayed dilated when I turned the lights on. He could recognize me by smell, and he could look my direction. But as far as whether he was really seeing much, I don't know. Hindsight being 2020, as we got to the vet's office and I got him in, and we got back to the room. They had a nice spot, couch. I thought the music was in poor taste. However, it was that Bryan Adams song, Heaven, but it was the country version, and it just seemed to me like it was almost a loop rather than the full song. I don't know. I mean, how the fuck do you pay attention in a moment like that to that kind of shit? But I was just like, what? Okay, whatever. Maybe they mean well. But got him out. We went to weigh him. We laid him back down. He was, what was it? 10 point something or 9 point something. He was 1.5 pounds more than the last time I took him there. After gaining weight back and then having an issue and losing a lot again. Think about that. Cats are miracles. They don't just have 9 lives. That's just an expression. This cat has Steve had 30 goddamn lives. So, and that's a joke about the George Washington song, by the way. I have this, humor's a coping mechanism, and this appeared in my head at some point. So, on the way to the vet, I played the song whose lyrics I put in the previous video. And it is so appropriate. And after that, I put on that was the Dragon Ball Z lo-fi and chill song compilation. I often listen to Dragon Ball Z Abridged or SSJ 9K's parodies while falling asleep because it's familiar content, but it's, something different. And as some people say, it could be argued that in a lot of ways DBZA did it better than the original. So the music was something soothing that I could listen to and still drive, but also I realized was something that was relaxing for him because he, slept on the bed with me a lot and I listened to that kind of stuff. So these are tunes that he's heard. And he chilled out after a while. And we got there. So I'd gone in and waited in just a moment until the line got through to me to let them know I was there and why, and they just got me right in. It didn't take a lot of time. They were like, do you want to wait? And I said, no, he's suffered enough at this point. I said, let's take a look at him and you'll understand. And we got through it. And by the time I got him onto the table and weighed, he had become Simpson's Yellow from liver failure. Just like my dad. I've now had to see 2 people that I love have this happen. At that moment, the color of his urine clicked.
So it might have been a liver stone and not a kidney stone initially. That was the thing that I read about. 3 lives, man. So what I want to say is that cat fought for his life to the end. He was in despair when I figured out something was wrong, and when he realized I didn't know and had started caring for him, cleaning him, picking up after him, he began to get better. And for a moment before the rest of the issues that were already going to happen, probably because there's a whole sequence of events, and it may or may not have actually been leukemia, but whatever it was, it's all effectively the same end. And I don't just mean the death, I mean the means. So it's one of those, well, you can spend $6,000 to find out whether it was A or B, but either way, it's going to do the same thing to him. Yes, it's important to spay and neuter your pets, but if you're going to do that, you have to be able to care for a potentially compromised immune system. And I'm not just talking vaccines, I'm talking things like diet, health, exercise. They say that there's like the 5 types of stimulation: emotional, intellectual, playfulness, and engage their hunting skills and all this stuff. And it's just with cats it's so hard, and people often take it for granted because they're just these critters that can hang out, and cats are totally cool to be basically left by themselves for a day if you need to. As long as there's nothing wrong or serious happens, that it's not separation anxiety where they're going to shred the house like a dog would. Some people are not comfortable with cats because they are those apex predators that are so fine-tuned for their survival that not only can they survive massive falls if in the proper circumstances, they can heal themselves through purring from just about anything. He went nuts on the fish oil that was on the cat food the last day before he stopped eating. That was the thing that he was really into, that I got figured out. It was like, okay, well, I'm going to crack this can open and let you drink all that salmon oil. And it did give him a little more energy, but unfortunately then it was the energy to struggle around because he still didn't have use of his hindquarters. They had become blue, things were necrotizing, his organs were failing. He really didn't struggle or fight with the trip or get into the pet porter, and the thing is that he just didn't have it in him. And the other thing is, from my own personal experience with the loss of my father, liver toxemia puts you kind of out of it. Thank fucking God. Thank God, thank you for that fact. That at the end, in the pain, there was probably not much in the way of suffering, just a little confusion. I feel this, but I don't understand it. It's better than having to endure it to the last moment for it to have to be that kind of relief. And so the doctor came in and did his little karate chop hand. What they did was they were able to put down a specific way in a place to get a little bit of blood pressure in, to be able to get circulation enough for it to kick in. And there was a massive dose. And he tensed, then he calmed, and I knew that was it. I had my head on his. It's the universal cat language for affection to boop heads, and so I held his paw, I had my hand on his shoulder and the saddle of his back, and I had my head to his, and that was it. I came home after that. I opted not to purchase car parts, but I did stop in and report that I would not be in for the night. Kind of got a funny look or whatever. I said, look, I've been crying on the phone with people all day. I was like, I'm going to do this on the way in. It's early enough, and this is the earliest they could get me in. But there's no way. And I think I'm going to be okay to work tomorrow. I'm doing this intentionally to be able to work out some of this. A lot of people resist the process, and it's just not healthy. And I've too much unhealthy coping that I've seen around me or experienced. I'm trying to do it right. So I came home. Everybody knew something was up. I left the porter out in the truck. I was like, that doesn't need to come in just yet. They were a little freaked about the cage and, smells of things. And when he started being real bad, they kind of moved out of the room for a minute. So I've got all the bed linens going through the laundry. I sat down here for a minute, cried. Cats came up and I made sure to seek out each one and give them all the love language that they know. And everybody knew something was up. Everybody got to smell my hands, which had touched him, and I had not washed them. And so then they were able to smell it. And then I washed my hands. Before I washed my hands, Severa was running away from me. As soon as I washed them and dried them off, she came up and sniffed and made sure there was no other death smell on me. And so then I had to wash my robe because I had hugged him in it. The Carhartt body armor was underneath of everything the entire time, so it did not, she doesn't seem to have an issue with that. So now I've washed my robe and she's on it. Just through the natural course of things, everybody is kind of chilled out. Me doing the laundry, she got to lay on top of the dryer. April's got her little hide on the bunk bed. Roger's kind of here and there. Once I've kind of moved things around the room a bit, now that I got a load of laundry to put in the dryer. And once that's done, I'll put the bed up. So anyways, I came home, I cried a little bit. I put the cage away, took the tray that everything, like there's a plastic tray that slides in the large kennel cage. I slid that out and folded the cage down. Stowed the cage, the kennel flat is outside, so the snow and sleet or rain that falls on the front porch will kind of get a little water on it, and I'll wash it out tomorrow. There's a little bit of stain on it. A mess to clean up. I then took everything that was in the cage and washed it. Washed everything that I had worn while holding him, all the towels that were involved in him laying on them, the blankets that were in there. And I still need to throw out the litter tray that was in there because it's got his, I call them piss biscuits, the little hardened clump that needs to be taken out, but I'm just going to get rid of that whole thing for scent reasons for them. And so anyways, I sat here, had a couple cigarettes, tried to watch a couple things to distract myself slightly, thought about the video here that you're watching that I was going to make, but this is, oh my gosh, it was 3:40 that we did this, and they had me all set up with the receipt so I could just head on out the side, not have to go through seeing anybody, whatever, and I was like, okay. So I just kind of slid out. So it was all done, and I hopped in and came home, so I had a couple good cries with the cats on the bed. Everybody laid up against me or on me and everything, and just, in proximity. We've had some peace between Roger and the princess on the bed. Also April and Roger. Roger's going to learn to chill, I think. And I had a little insight, the idea that it's possible that because the way that a couple of these other the sisters here treated Roger after I came back, or just as I was leaving with him too, I think, as Steve was getting worse, they all kind of turned on Roger for a minute. So I have to wonder if Roger had a tendency, like I mentioned in a previous video, that Samira, I watched her do the parachute fall, courtesy of Roger, that there was an issue there, and it's okay. And see, Samira just twist her head. It's like speak of the devil kind of thing. So that's why I try and keep on these medicine treats for her to, keep her mood good and not be irritable because of issues. And I think she's probably the next one to go get a checkup. She's also the oldest now, so that puts her at 6 or 7, I believe. So since this, they've not gone up on the wall. They've not gone at any of these high places, all of which I've seen this other cat chase them from. So, and she's a tree cat too. When she goes out, she needs to zoom, and when she's in here, I think she gets in play mindset and doesn't understand. But it's only sometimes, so I don't know. So, and maybe an exercise will help her with that too. That's my goal. I had a good couple hour nap with the cats. Some of them wanted to go in and out from the porch a bit, so I'd hop up here and there, and the ones that stayed on the bed kind of, tolerated the fact that I was moving around a lot. I think tonight we're going to have a good sleep, and moving forward, I know that there will eventually be, there's a little more room per cat. We now have 6 litter boxes and 5 kitties. So, I think that them all also, I don't know if them all being girls without a boy here, I don't know how that's going to go either, but I'm not trying to get a neutered boy cat in here anytime soon. It would be a position to be occupied by some kind of a dog that could handle being at home with some cats for hours at a time without flipping out, which I don't even know, and I can't afford right now. But